there are stories. And then there are secrets powerful enough to shake the foundations of governments, corporations, and the elite themselves. Secrets locked inside thousands of pages of testimony, sworn statements, flight logs, financial records, and sealed intelligence files, all connected to one man, Jeffrey Epstein. A billionaire with private islands, luxury mansions, political access, and a hidden empire built on manipulation, exploitation, and power. A man whose social circle included some of the most influential names on the planet, and whose sudden death behind bars only deepened the shadows around his life. For years, the world has demanded the truth. For years, survivors have begged for transparency. For years, investigators, journalists, and lawmakers have warned, ominous tone. If these files are ever fully released, people you least expect will be exposed. But the truth is still buried. The files are still hidden. The public is still blocked. And the question that terrifies the powerful the most remains unanswered. What exactly is inside the Epstein files? And why are they being kept from the world? Despite growing public outrage and demands for transparency, the Trump administration has not fully released the Epstein files due to a complex mix of legal restrictions, federal privacy laws, and ongoing investigations that prevent disclosure. U.S. law requires that the identities of underage victims be protected, meaning thousands of pages must be redacted before release, and any material that could expose minors cannot legally be made public. The Department of Justice has also stated that several related investigations, some involving powerful individuals, are still active, and releasing unredacted documents could disrupt those cases or compromise evidence. In addition, portions of the files contain classified intelligence, internal federal communications, and court-sealed records that even a president cannot unseal without judicial approval. Releasing names of uncharged individuals could also expose the government to major legal challenges, forcing federal agencies to move cautiously. For these reasons, victim protection, active investigations, classification rules, and sealed court orders, the Epstein files remain locked away, not by political choice alone, but by a legal system designed to restrict what the public can see, even in a case this explosive. Jeffrey Epstein began his career on Wall Street, working at a major firm before striking out on his own. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, Epstein had founded a private money management firm catering to ultra-wealthy clients, and quickly amassed vast wealth and influence. He acquired lavish properties, including a private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and moved in circles that included powerful and famous people, politicians, business magnates, celebrities. On the surface, Epstein was a glamorous, successful financier. But in the shadows, rumors and whispers began to swirl about a darker side, a side that would eventually unravel everything. In the mid-2000s, local police in Florida began investigating Epstein after reports that underage girls were being paid to give him massages at his Palm Beach residence, some as young as 14. By 2006, a grand jury indicted Epstein on solicitation of prostitution. Federal prosecutors reportedly considered even more serious charges, up to 60 criminal counts. But in 2007, Epstein's legal team negotiated a plea deal. In June 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to state-level charges, soliciting prostitution, including with a minor, and was sentenced to 18 months, yet was released after just 13 months. Despite the severity of the accusations, this light sentence and the sealed deal sparked outrage and raised troubling questions. How could someone so wealthy avoid real accountability? Who else was involved and protected? For years, Epstein's wealth and social circle shielded him, until investigative journalism and survivor testimonies began to pierce the veil. One crucial turning point came with the work of reporters who began to compile stories from dozens of women who said they had been abused or trafficked by Epstein. Among the accusers was Virginia Giuffre, who claimed she was recruited by Epstein's close associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, when she was a teenager at a club linked to Epstein. Documents later unsealed revealed flight logs, receipts, and records of many trips on Epstein's private aircraft, sometimes called the Lolita Express, showing Epstein and various high-profile names traveling with him. These revelations had the effect of dragging Epstein, not just as a criminal financier, but as someone deeply embedded within elite society. After renewed pressure and mounting evidence, Epstein was arrested on July 6, 2019, on federal charges: sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking. But just over a month later, on August 10, 2019, Epstein was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. The official ruling: suicide by hanging. His death sent shockwaves around the world. How could a man under high-security detention accused of crimes against minors die in custody so soon? The abrupt end to his life meant many questions would never be answered, at least not from him. But the story did not end with his death. Instead, it marked the start of a new phase, one defined by secrecy, legal battles, public outrage, and demands for truth. After Epstein's death, attention turned to his closest associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. On July 2, 2020, Maxwell was arrested by the FBI on multiple federal charges connected to Epstein's trafficking operation. In December 2021, a jury found Maxwell guilty on several counts, including sex trafficking of minors, transporting minors for illegal sexual activity, and conspiracy. In 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. The conviction provided some measure of justice, but it also raised new questions about how many others might have been involved and whether justice for all survivors would ever be served. Over decades, thousands of pages of court records, civil suit depositions, flight logs, emails, and other documents accumulated, collectively referred to as the Epstein Files. For years, much of this material remained sealed, heavily redacted, or simply hidden from public view. Survivors and investigators argued that the truth was being buried. In 2025, renewed political and public pressure, along with legal developments, triggered efforts to unseal many of these documents. Still, official statements from the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, declared that investigators did not find credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals or maintained a formal client list. This tension between the hope of full disclosure and the reality of redactions and denials serves as the battleground for truth, justice, and accountability. Even now, after arrests, convictions, and partial disclosures, much remains unknown. Who was involved beyond Epstein and Maxwell? Were there powerful enablers? How many victims have yet to be heard? The client list may not have been verified, but many survivors believe that those exonerating claims fail to account for pressure, fear, and manipulation. For survivors and advocates, the fight continues for unsealed evidence, accountability, and systemic reform. For the public, Epstein's story remains a haunting lesson about how wealth and privilege can hide unimaginable abuse, and how justice can take decades to seek solace. As the final files trickle out, one truth endures: the consequences of deception for victims, society, and history are far from over.